Welcome back to Briggs on Books, our international talk show where I talk to authors from all over the world. I have the best job in the world. I read books half the day, and I talk to authors the other half the day. By the way, look at this book. I always point the wrong way. This book is Dusty Rhodes. Now, I'm going to bring this author on in a minute. She's fascinating. She's a historian. She's an author. But she exposed me to a hero I had never heard of before. And I'm a historian myself. And I love to read about heroes, and especially those I've not known of or heard of before. Dusty Rhodes is the hero. And our guest, if I can find her, I hope she is here today. There she is. Our guest is Elaine Rock. Welcome, Elaine.
Hi, Mike. Thank you very much.
Am I right in calling your featured person a hero?
Absolutely. She definitely was, especially for many, many flight attendants over the years.
I'm going to start. I want you to tell us about her. I'm going to put up a picture of her and Gloria Steinem and you. All three of you are on the screen right now.
Okay. Tell
us about the hero.
Well, Dusty was a airline stewardess starting in 1950, and in 1953, American Airlines introduced a new policy firing stewardesses at age 32 or requiring a ground job if they didn't want to leave the airline. And also they had continuing bans on marriage, so they couldn't be married as well. And then they had all kinds of appearance standards too, much of which I'm going to talk about today. And so what she did was she became a leader in her union and was one of the first female lobbyists to Congress. And she made a lot of friends in Congress. A stewardess was almost like a movie star to people back east and in Congress. So she garnered a lot of attention, and she was able to speak to congressmen about these jobs, got a bill written with John Bell Williams, who was actually a Democrat segregationist, and they wrote a bill, and it went to committee for the Foreign, Interstate, and Commerce Commission at the time, and it was an all-male committee, and they started ridiculing it right away because they called it because they thought it was ridiculous to have a bill on one issue for one airline, and so they called it the Old Broads Bill. And that is when Dusty realized she wasn't just fighting management through her union, she was fighting national gender discrimination.
Wow. And this was the first of this kind of a beginning of a movement, I guess we could say.
Yeah, this was all in the 50s. This is way before Gloria Steinem and Betty Friedan came on the scene. And in fact, the picture we have of Gloria and Dusty was not long after I first met Dusty, and we went to her alma mater. She was a speaker, and Gloria Steinem was a keynote. And when we met with Gloria separately from all of the other people at the fundraiser they had, Dusty says to Gloria, after all these years, I haven't had a chance to thank you for all you've done for women. And Gloria turns around and says, oh no, Dusty, I should be the one thanking you. You're the one who started it all. So that was my premise, and I knew I had a story.
You had a story to tell. And
I spent the next 10 years researching, interviewing. It was during COVID, so it was hard to get a hold of people back east. Finally was released late October.
Yeah. And here's the book cover, Dusty Rhodes. And It's amazing. You did a ton of research, I would imagine.
An incredible amount of research. I have 100 interviews with Dusty and other people. So it took a long time. It took me a year to transcribe it all. So anyway, Dusty then went on to file the first discrimination complaint after the Civil Rights Act and Title VII was passed with the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunities Commission. And she brought a colleague of hers, Jean Montague, and to the EEOC and to file a discrimination complaint based on sex. And believe me, the EEOC didn't even think that the first one would be about sex discrimination.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Tell me how I should proceed with these pictures. Here's one with, it looks like Doris Day.
Yeah, let's get to the appearance standards here.
Okay.
So the job qualification, she had an interview in 1950 with a man who eventually became her manager. And when she was active in the union, she said, "Well, do you regret hiring me now?" And he said, "On the contrary, you look like Doris Day, and that was one of our standards. We look for women who look like Doris Day." In fact, at one of the book clubs I spoke to recently, a woman corroborated that. She said, "Oh yeah, I don't have two friends who said that too."
Wow.
So I found the picture of Doris Day because I hadn't even juxtaposed the pictures with the two before, and when I saw that, I thought, "Oh, I have a winner picture here because I think they do look alike."
Yeah. Amazing. So it wasn't about ability or skill. It was whether you look like Doris Day or not.
Yeah, they did have qualifications that you had to speak proper English, you need to be friendly with all of the businessmen in particular, you had to know how to bend over without showing anything. That was a real critical thing. And so with the next picture, I have the her stewardess class graduation. And this shows how really all their uniforms and their haircuts had to be above their chin. They had to be perfect, and they all look alike.
They all look alike, yes.
Very military-like in many ways.
Amazing. That is the look. You had to have the look.
You had to have the look.
And be friendly to businessmen.
Yeah, right, for primarily the businessmen. Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to point that one out. Then the next one, next picture I sent was the stewardess is checking her appearance. If you notice in the mirror, the reflection of the mailboxes in the operation room, you can see. So this was in an open area, and they had a place where a stewardess could go to the mirror and make sure she had everything that she had to be adhered to. So I'm going to read this. The sign above the mirror says, "As others see us." And what they're looking for on the right is hat straight, makeup fresh, hair length right, blouse pressed, insignia on, uniform cleaned and pressed, slip showing, hose seams straight. That was when hosiery had seams. Shoes shined. Another kind of military-like situation. So they had some pretty strict rules before they got on a flight. Wow. And if they didn't adhere to them, not to mention, they had to wear girdles. And if they and they made checks on that in operations while they were checking in for their flights. Yeah. So there would be a supervisor that would do a little flick on the bum, and if they weren't wearing a girdle, they'd be sent home and not on the flight.
Oh my goodness!
Didn't matter. They had these weight standards that Dusty was 5'8", 125. The weight range for her was 125 to 135. She never had a problem, but there were a lot of stewardesses that did and had to really watch it, or they'd be fired if they went over the weight standard. So, anyway.
Could you imagine today if we had a weight standard to be a talk show host or something like that? I don't know.
Well, right. Well, they are kind of talking about it coming back.
Oh, boy.
Originally, everything got weighed. Men, women, luggage, because they wanted to make sure that the weight was balanced on the airplane, or it would be inefficient fuel use or unstable to fly. Yeah. So I know that I was on an airplane once that they all told us to move around because they had to balance the airplane a little bit more.
Wow.
So
now they had an age standard as well. Is that right?
They had an age standard limit of 32. Different airlines had different rules. So, but American had 32 as the age limit. They negotiated 33, so they had an extra year.
Nice.
And some airlines had the age of 35. But American Airlines was the first to institute it, and I might say the first to eliminate it.
Yeah, and here's a great slide you sent. Which four of these stewardesses are over 32? And you have to see if you could pick them out yourself, because I sure couldn't.
Yeah, I couldn't either. And as Dusty got older, she didn't remember it either. But Dusty's on the far right of the photo.
Okay.
And her mentor, Nancy Collins, is the third from the right.
Third from the right.
But that would be almost next to impossible. So that when the press corps saw them flaunt their characteristics, shall I say, they supported them wholeheartedly in the being against the age rule, and at that time the press corps really needed to be brought in because they had an influence on public opinion, and public opinion would be noted by the airlines.
Definitely would be noted by the airlines.
Yes.
Now we have the picture of the peace sign. What is that?
Yeah, I have a couple of chapters in the book about the fact that they volunteered to fly military airlift command flights ferrying troops to the Vietnam War. And they had, this is a little interjection, it's not about appearance, but they did have uniforms that made them look like if they were military, a little scarf and a very conservative outfit. Other airlines did differently. But this peace sign, I wanted to tell this story because the stewardesses were ferrying troops home on Christmas Day, and they wanted them to have a lot of fun. They went out to as many liquor stores as they possibly could on the way to Vietnam, and bought up all the Playboy magazines and handed them out to the troops and said, okay, you have a mission that you must complete before we get to Hawaii. And they gave them all the magazines, and they told them to make chain link ornaments, and they were going, and so this is the result of it, and it actually got a picture into the military magazine after they landed. And they had a wonderful time doing it. They were quiet. They were happy and relaxed, and so they had a good time. They wanted to make the guys laugh.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. Now we have, I call it the fur hat picture with the Statue of Liberty.
Right. This was an advertisement that American Airlines had for the new Americana uniforms, and the signature part of this uniform that I think irked most of the stewardesses was the fur hat. Here's Dusty's.
Oh my goodness.
This is a raccoon fur hat, and they had the little tail on there, and they hated it because it just was kind of an annoyance, and it didn't really help too much, but Dusty decided she was going to wear it on the ski slopes. And so she would get lots of laughs skiing down the slopes with this hat on. But those uniforms were threadbare. There were reports of stewardesses parking their cars in the parking lot on the East Coast in a snowstorm, and by the time they got into the operations office, the skirts would be frozen.
Oh.
And the vinyl boots were so uncomfortable, their feet hurt. So fortunately, the uniform was optional, so most of them didn't wear it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, most of us, we're in California, so we don't understand about skirts freezing and things like that. So.
Yeah, but I can imagine it. So.
Now, is this a protest going on?
This was from the 1993 strike. They were striking for health benefits and better pay. And this was in at Los Angeles Airport. She had just come from Hawaii and she was on her way home to San Francisco, but she wanted to support the Los Angeles strikers. And as she's walking out of the airport, she sees a sign outside of the women's restroom. And she saw it says out of service. So it was a placard.
I get it now.
She flung it over her and walked out. And of course, they're all laughing in that picture because they know exactly where it came from. The woman on the right is wearing a T-shirt called SWAT, SWAT Team. And Dusty created these for the strikers. SWAT meant to them, see, we are together, and to make a point.
Wow.
So I think that Dusty, she actually designed and got them all made for everybody.
That's great. What a great historical book. Like I said, someone I'd never heard of, and probably a lot of us have not. And thank goodness you took the time to put this down in a book so people, these great people will live on in your book.
Yeah, and I was really excited because as soon as it was released, it became Amazon's #1 hot new release.
Yeah, that's nice.
It was #1 in feminist theory and social activist biographies. And now I found out just the other day that it's #1 in feminist theory and what was it, biographies of social activists in the UK and Canada.
My goodness.
So, I know. I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
And also, I've recorded my audiobook, and it will be coming out in April. And people can find out exactly when because I'll announce it on my website as well as all my social media.
Will you be the voice on the book, or?
I am going to be the voice.
Yeah.
I started in late November and ended in mid-February.
Was that a lot of work to do?
Pardon?
Was that a lot of work to do?
It required me having a very a soundproof room,
Yeah.
And that ended up being my clothes closet. It worked just fine, and it took about an hour, 1 to 3 hours on each session once a week, and so. I'm now listening to it before I actually say yes, release it. Now, the other announcement I wanted to make is I was on, in February of last year, PBS American Experience had the Fly With Me documentary about the history of flight attendants. And it's a great documentary and Dusty and Jean Montague and I are in it.
Nice.
And what I was excited about is it is Women's History Month. And so on Tuesday, March 18th, 9 p.m. Central Time, they are actually having an encore of that documentary and are going to broadcast it.
Okay. That's on PBS?
It's on PBS American Experience.
Okay.
And I'll read this to you as well. Their little PR bit. The mid-20th century, becoming a stewardess, in the mid-20th century, let me start again, becoming a stewardess offered young single women unheard of opportunity for adventure and independence. Yeah. But these women soon found themselves on the front lines of the battle to assert gender equality and transform the workplace. Tune in for a special encore presentation of Fly With Me, Tuesday, March 18 at 9 p.m. Central on PBS. Check your local listings. And stream, but you can also stream anytime on their website and on the PBS app. And so I encourage your viewers and listeners to check it out. It's a really good documentary.
Yeah, so I think that's about a week from today, if I'm not mistaken.
That's about right.
Yeah, about a week from today. Today, by the way, is March 11th, so a week from today on March 18th, and it'll be on PBS?
PBS American Experience.
American Experience, very good. I'm going to watch that, and we'll see you in it. That'll be so exciting.
Yeah, you'll see me,
Yeah.
and you'll see Dusty. Before she unfortunately passed away before it was broadcast, but she's there.
Yeah.
And as is Jean Montague, who was Dusty's partner and eventual wife. So.
By the way, I'm going to put the book cover up again on the cover, and we'll be able to see that documentary. When we put your video up, I'm going to add all the details of where to watch it. But we have your web address on the screen, ElaineRock.com. You'll probably have the date, time, and everything on there?
Absolutely. I'll be posting that in a couple of days.
By the way, I meant to tell, maybe I did tell you this last time we talked. I listen to a lot of audiobooks now, and I love the ones where the author is the voice. It just changes the whole book for me because you hear it in the author's own voice, and that's how they meant it to be heard. And I really like that. So.
But what was fun about that was the people that helped me do that. Was Bradley Communications and Author Success, and the woman who was the producer and recorded me, and their editor sent me a bouquet of flowers when we were done, saying, "You are an inspiration to us."
Good.
And I thought, "Oh, that's wonderful."
That's
it
so
was
nice,
so
yeah.
gratifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now the audiobook is available now?
No, it'll probably be released in April, and I don't know. I don't have a date yet, but you can. I'll be posting it on social media
Nice.
as well as my website.
So in a month or so, we'll be able to get that audiobook. That is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
That's great. Elaine, you and I always go over time, which is okay, because you're so fascinating to talk to.
Yeah.
And I want to say that people can have you come and speak to their organization. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I will do in person as well as Zoom.
Nice.
I love book clubs, libraries, anywhere.
Anywhere. Okay, very good.
I'm more of an extrovert than an introvert, so I'm really having a lot of fun with this now.
I bet you are. Women's History Month, that would be a great time to have Elaine come and talk to your group, Zoom in and talk to your group, whatever it is.
Right.
Elaine, I just want to give you a minute. Anything we left out that you want to make sure our viewers know about?
No, just know that you can keep up with me. I do blog on a inconsistent but regular basis,
Okay.
and I have a little blurb on the history of Women's History Month,
Okay.
which was started here by the woman who wrote the foreword in my book, Molly McGregor, and they got Carter to announce the Women's History Month being official in Congress.
Very good. Very good.
Actually, it was Barbara Mikulski and Orrin Hatch that actually passed that bill. So,
Nice. I'm going to close here, Elaine. I'm going to leave the cover of your book up on the screen for a moment, and your web address and Instagram. So I urge our viewers to write that down. Go visit. Just memorize the website. It's so easy. ElaineRock.com. And we've got it. Thank you, Elaine. I always love having you on the show. I'm very inspired by you and what you're doing.
well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate that, and I like coming here.
Great. And for our viewers, don't go anywhere, because we'll be back with another author right after this.